give yourself grace.
Yeah.
If you are just struggling in those areas, do what you need to do to make yourself feel better. The way that you maybe dress, the way that if you need to get your hair done, your nails done, whatever it is, you need to go and buy lingerie or whatever it is that you need to do to make yourself feel better. If you need your own special soap and nobody use my For Human soap, that's my new little soap I found at Target. I really like it. But that if you need whatever you need, get it and pamper yourself, treat yourself well, do your self-care so that you can feel better about you. Guys, welcome to Marriage Matters, where we talk about all things marriage, relationships, love, and all of that great stuff. My name is Tanya Coleman. I am joined here by my handsome husband,
Glenn Coleman.
Glenn Coleman. Yeah, so I'm not used to doing the intro. This is new for me.
You did a good job.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great job.
So how are you?
I'm doing great. This was a great Sunday. I always love Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Woke up this morning, had an awesome job. This is really cool. I had an awesome time this morning. I got a chance to fellowship with my friends over at Life United.
Cool.
Shout out to Life United, and also had a chance to play this morning with my good friend Pee Wee. For those of you who know Pee Wee.
Okay, awesome.
I'm always asking him, how do you want me to introduce you?
Uh-huh.
Well, I always ask, you want me to introduce you as Jermaine,
right?
Or you want me to say Pee? He's always Pee Wee. So shout out to Pee Wee. Got a chance to hang out with him this morning and play with him. It's been a while since I played with him. So way before the pandemic. So
cool.
It was good. Good morning.
Good.
Good.
Hello, Mama. Mama Lena is joining us as always. Love you much. So guys, listen, this is and I'm clapping my hands because I'm excited. This is a very special month for us. This is the month of May.
Mm-hmm. What happened in the month of May?
The month of May, a lot of things happen in the month of May, but particularly we will be celebrating 20 years of marriage on the 26th of this month.
Yes, sir.
20 whole years of marriage. Yes.
And that's just marriage. So
right.
We've been together.
I'm going to see if he gets it right.
So we dated for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we were we were engaged for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So
24 and a half ish years. Yes, that we have.
So we've been together.
We've been together.
We've been together for a minute.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed all of them.
Yes.
All of them.
So have I.
We were cleaning out the garage, and Tanya, she is not, she doesn't like to throw things away.
I do not. I'm an emotional.
I throw everything away.
Hold on.
Sometimes I throw things away that I think I probably need, but I throw them away because I just don't like clutter. And then I throw it away and I'm like, what happened to my, and you be like, but baby, you threw that away. Anyway, so I found a card, an anniversary card. And apparently 1 year for our anniversary, apparently I forgot it was our anniversary. After reading the card, but I think it's probably our dating. I don't think it was our married anniversary.
I don't even remember when you found the card. I was like, oh, that happened.
Yeah, I think it's when we were dating. I don't ever remember forgetting our anniversary once we were married. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, do you remember our dating anniversary?
When we started dating?
Yeah.
We started officially dating like in December.
I don't know. I'm just seeing if you knew. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Because actually, that's
another story. We are celebrating. So
yeah.
Anyway, so this month, y'all, we have been talking kind of back and forth that we really wanted to have a conversation, and we may actually have some guests on later on in the month.
Yep.
But today is going to be an introduction to us. We talk about intimacy often on the show. but we don't really talk about sexual intimacy.
Mhm.
And so we wanted to really celebrate intimacy on all levels, and including sexual intimacy this month,
Mhm.
in honor of our anniversary, because it is truly an important part of marriage life. And I think as Christians, as believers, we often skirt around the subject of sex. I don't know. I do know why. We skirt around it because there's always a sense of shame
Mhm.
applied to it, or oh, we don't talk about that. Well, y'all, we have to talk about it. So
Mhm.
many marriages, so many couples are struggling because of that particular issue. So I think that it is very important that we do talk about it,
Mhm.
and that we have some conversation around it. So pretty much this month, that's what we're going to be addressing. We're going to give you some of our personal insights on some things. We're going to share with you what the Bible says. We're going to share with you, as Glenn likes to say, tips and tricks about how to create, enhance, or make better your intimacy as a couple. How
Mhm.
to have those conversations. Are you talking about it? We're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Are you talking about it with one another?
Yeah.
Are you seeking guidance and real counsel from people, or help if you're struggling in that area?
Mhm.
We're going to just kind of put it out there and,
Yeah.
and have some conversation around it.
Yeah. So I'll just say this and I'll let you continue.
Mhm.
But if you are listening to this or watching this with small children,
right,
or children that you maybe haven't had the sex talk with,
which you should,
and you don't want to, yeah, which you should, but you don't want to introduce them that, just in case. I don't know what we're gonna get into, but just in case,
we'll
I don't want to get any nasty messages.
Yeah.
So we will be, talking about sex in these episodes. So
Yes.
just a disclaimer for the month of May.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
continue.
Okay. So I don't know how many of you, read your Bible, but God talks about sex in the Bible.
Yes.
There are conversations or verses about sex throughout the Bible. Specifically, the Song of Solomon gets really, really steamy. If you've never read it, especially as a couple, I suggest that you guys read it. Maybe take a chapter a night on your way to bed. Make that your pillow talk. It's pretty cool. We did it years ago. But this is all intended to empower couples. So we're not, here to take things to left field, so to speak, but we want to empower couples to be liberated and to be free in their intimacy with one another. And I think for most couples, many couples, women probably struggle more than men with a sense of shame, whether that be body shaming, their own perspective of their body image, the good girl syndrome, which we'll talk about later on, probably in the month, all of those different things. I'm not a man, so I don't necessarily know men's struggles. I'll let you talk about that.
Okay.
But we kind of want to empower people to get free from a lot of those things and seek help, learn to talk more as a couple. We have more conversation now about everything, including sex, than we ever have.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And I was just saying that's the key, and I guess I don't know as far as men struggle with sex. I think, and I can't speak for all men, but I think for me, it's probably the expectation of what that would look like, because of Hollywood, what we see on TV, or even the porn industry, what we see in pornography, and so those are, I guess, and I really didn't think about struggles, and maybe I'll think more about that. But I would say that would be the thing is, it would be expectations and what that would look like, and then I would say I'll start there.
Okay.
And I'll also say that for what we've discovered is that one of the best things that you can do for your intimate or sexual relationship with your spouse is talk about it.
Yeah.
That I think, and again, I don't know what it's like in other relationships. I can't speak for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know for us, being how we grew up,
mm-hmm.
Growing up in church,
mm-hmm.
The even the image that was painted
mm-hmm.
Around sexuality, in that for the most part, it's like, okay, when you're not married, it's bad,
right? Mm-hmm.
And don't do it, and
right.
You're not supposed to do it, and all those things,
mm-hmm.
and then even in marriage, when you get married,
mm-hmm.
and now it's God ordained, and
mm-hmm.
people throw around scriptures like the marriage bed is undefiled and all these things, but because of that program, I think it's like we do it, we have sex, but it's like we never talk about or is it enjoyable, or is what can I do different, how can I improve, how can I be better, all those things. And I think the reason why we don't talk about it, like I said, is just because the concepts, or what's the word I use, I don't want to say the indoctrination, but just what we were taught growing up,
the framework.
Thank you, that's good. It's not something that should be openly discussed. I'll just say it like that.
Right.
Even like when we have the talk with our kid, it's like, we make it so, and I'm a firm believer, and I know I may be pulling you off, but
no, you're good.
Of giving our kids giving our kids something, or teaching them from a high level, even from a young age. And just not making it such a, so we're going to have to,
subject.
Right. So we're going to have to talk. I'm going to bring you into this room. I'm going to close all the doors and shut all the windows.
Right.
And I tell you, so it again, just normalizing it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's done that way because, well, if I tell them, then they may do or get curious.
It's fear.
Right.
And I think a lot of the teaching that we get, rather it's from church or from even our parents, the teaching comes, it's fear-based. Even sometimes when in the past, when having conversations with our kids, and I've had to grow and evolve to this point, anything that is done out of fear, it's not going to be fluid and true and authentic. There may be some truth to it, but it's not full because there's fear there. And so you're reserved and holding back on some of the conversation.
Yeah.
And so I think, especially when we're talking about our kids, one, we have to teach them to love and value themselves, and that they have complete and total agency, over their bodies. And, I've had conversations with the girls about, that no one has the right to come into your personal space, without your permission. And so we had conversations and started teaching those things from really, really little.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was from my own experiences as a child. And we'll talk about, some of that later. Yeah. But I wanted
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what you said is the key is it's motive.
Right.
Everything about it, you said, being fear-based, and even and we'll get into this a little bit as we go, but what is the purpose of having sex? The motive is, it's not, the motive is everything. Even between, or I'm gonna say even, but between a husband and a wife, the motive is everything. And that determines the health of your sexual life.
Right.
Within your marriage.
Right.
And I want to say it like it's separate, but because it should be all one. So I'll just say that because I don't want to get too far ahead.
Yeah, but that's fine. So I wanted to read, and I typed this up just in the process of thinking about this month and the space that we're creating. So I want to ask people who are watching, whether you're watching us live or you come back and you watch the replay or you listen to the podcast, send your comments, send your questions, all of those different things. We love to engage. We love to be able to chat and to communicate with you. And we'll talk more about if you and your spouse are needing some marriage coaching. We make ourselves available for that as well, and we'll talk about that later on. But I wanted to read this note that I had typed up. It's been several weeks now. The goal and the purpose of these conversations. So we want to empower couples to understand and embrace true intimacy. Break free from stereotypes that leave them longing for something that is their birthright. So sexual intimacy in marriage, including sexual intimacy, is your birthright.
Yeah.
Okay. Intimacy is not attainable without vulnerability. And we talk about vulnerability here on this show all the time.
And really, that's probably one of the most vulnerable moments.
Absolutely.
It should be.
It should be. It is not always.
Right. And so I think if you struggle with vulnerability, that's going to be also a struggle for you to have vulnerability in and that when it comes to in sex, and when it comes to, like I said earlier, just talking about it, you have to be very vulnerable.
Right.
Right. In that. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, I mean, and when we say talk about it, we're talking real conversation. And so we're going to talk about what that looks like as we go further along.
It's going to be a great 4 weeks, guys. So tune in. It's going to be
absolutely
it's gonna be great. And
true intimacy creates sexual freedom in marriage that you cannot have without it. We are celebrating intimacy in honor of our 20 years of marriage, because marriage matters to us. That's my little tagline. Marriage matters to us.
Yes, it does.
So here's what I wanted to, this is the first scripture that I wanted to kind of bring to the table today. As I mentioned earlier, the Song of Songs or Song of Solomon. This is chapter 7, verses 7 through 10. This is an example of how beautifully the Bible presents sex in marriage. Your stature is like that of the palm, and your breasts like clusters of fruit. I said, I will climb the palm tree. I will take hold of its fruit. May your breasts be like clusters of grapes on the vine, the fragrance of your breath like apples, and your mouth like the best wine. May the wine go straight to my beloved, flowing gently over lips and teeth. I belong to my beloved, and his desire is for me. Isn't that like beautiful poetry? I know. See, my nerd comes out. I love poetry and all of that kind of
Song
stuff.
Of Solomon?
That was Song of Solomon, chapter 7, verses 7 through 10.
Okay.
It's presented in such a beautiful and intimate way, which is truly God's intent for marriage. The world has taken sex and they have changed into something dirty and filthy, and so now we feel like we have to hide. Don't watch, don't listen, don't, because it's turned into something filthy, but that's not what God's intent was. If we go back to the Bible, it is a beautiful exchange of relationship and love between a man and a woman, between a husband and a wife. That is God's intent for sex. And that is also why he created it for marriage, because it is intended for that exchange in marriage underneath the covenant. And so all of the other experiences that many of us have had that were outside of that also help to create that shame that many people, married people, still deal with within the marriage, because they have not done the work to undo it. If that makes sense.
And that's why it's so important, to keep ourselves even, before marriage. And I'll say this, a lot of people talk about abstinence, and not having sex before marriage. But it's a new term that I've heard, and it's more, or I've learned, maybe I knew it, but it's more purity, because you can be you could be abstinent, not have engaged actual intercourse. And that's what a lot of people talk about. You know, when you talk about premarital sex or sex before, outside of marriage. Let me not say premarital, because I listened to a podcast the other day. Somebody was like, well, what if I'm divorced?
Oh, Lord. Okay.
You know, so that's not premarital.
Technicality.
Yeah, that's not premarital. You know, that's actually after I've been, but the whole thing is to keep yourself pure, and it's like, you know, and it's not, it's for that person, reserving that space and that vulnerability for a person, right?
For that one person.
And you had said that a lot of time, a lot of what we've done is tied to. So in other words, you know, when you engage in sexual activity, whatever that is, and I'm not saying sexual intercourse, I'm saying sexual activity, that's whether good, that's, you know, kissing, feeling, whatever, you are, that's where the guilt, because then that's where, you know, a lot of times we associate the guilt of sex or sexual activity with the act of it. Right. Because, you know, we, especially like I said, growing up in a Christian home and you know, it's like, oh, you shouldn't be doing it. So you're doing it. And it's like, now you feel guilty. And it's very hard to, once you get married, it's very hard to separate that out. Yeah. It's just like, you know, the experiment with I forgot the guy's name, with the mice. They introduced this smell to them. Oh, yeah. And when they introduced the smell, they shocked the mice. Then they introduced the smell again, they shocked the mice. It smell, shock, smell, shock. Well, after a while, they remove the shock and just give the smell. Right. And the mice still run away because they've been conditioned. Right. And so that's how it is with sex or sexual intercourse or sexual any type of sexual behavior. You experience it and then there's guilt. Experiencing it, then guilt. Experiencing it, then guilt. Well, then now when you're in marriage, you can't. It's just like removing the shock away, but the reaction to it is still there. Right. So even though you have freedom, you're supposed to have freedom in your bedroom, right, with your spouse. That, you know, that the guilt is still attached to the act, and so that's where the work has to be done with you and with you yourself and with you and your spouse to help remove the guilt, and because there's nothing greater than to have a free and pleasurable sexual experience with your spouse. Absolutely. You know, and it's a act, you know, we say this all the time, that sex is not will not save your marriage. Right. But it is a great barometer of how your marriage is doing. Yeah. Because of the vulnerability attached to it, you know, and for relationships, you know, people who, if you're in a sexless marriage, well, for me, that's a red flag that something's not going on. Sure. You know, now I'm not saying, and I understand, you know, there may be some situations right now, you know, where you go through some seasons where maybe your one spouse is sick or whatever. I'm not talking about that, but I'm saying that you are both choosing to abstain, or one person in the relationship is choosing, you know, to abstain from sex while the, you know, and the other one's not. So to me, that's, I always say, you know, sex is not a cure for problems in marriage, but like I said, I think it's a barometer for how you are doing in marriage. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because it's like one of the you know, the vitals, like when you go to the hospital and they hook you up to all the machines, right? They're checking all the vitals. Well, sex is one of those it's one of those monitors that can kind of give you an idea of how. And what I'm saying, and not just having sex, but the health of it. Are both both of you enjoying it? Right. Are both of you desiring it? Right. Right. From each other. I can always throw that in there. Yes. And that, you know, when you said something earlier that made me think about that. You know, that's why when a spouse commits adultery or commits adultery outside of the marriage, it hurts so bad. You know, the spouse that has been cheated on,
it's really grieving of the loss of that level of intimacy that you thought that you had with that spouse. You know, because of the depth of intimacy you should have with your spouse, that when you come together, you know, in your bedroom, that it is a level of
or anywhere else.
Or
it doesn't have to be in the bedroom.
Okay, it doesn't. Whatever.
I just thought I want to throw that out there. Okay.
But whenever
I said I was going to behave. I said I was going to behave, and I'm going to behave. Go ahead.
But whenever you come together and you're thinking that, you know, you are completely sharing yourself with your spouse, with this person, just you and them, and then someone discovers that the other person has gone outside of that, they've broken that covenant, you know, that's a loss.
Yeah.
And so when that happens in a marriage and a couple is trying to heal that, you know, the spouse who's committed the adultery is just like, you know, well, I said I'm sorry, or, you know, this happened last year and she's still holding over my head. Well, that, because it's a grave loss, and we have to give that person the grace that they need to process the healing. It's not just the forgiveness, but it's also the healing.
Yeah.
You know, another thing I wanted to bring up, especially for women, like I said, you know, I'm a woman, so I can only speak from a woman's, you know, point of view. I want to encourage women to, one, give yourself some grace. You know, if maybe your body doesn't look like what it looked like when you guys first got married. You know, we're about to be married for 20 years. And my God, if I could go in there and put on that size 10 wedding dress with that waist that looks like this, I might shout all over the place and might wear it out to Walmart and Target and everywhere else. I might just wear it. But I know that I can't realistically right now go and put that dress on, you know? That doesn't mean that because your body has changed that your spouse is no longer attracted to you. The way that you speak to yourself, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you speak about yourself in front of your spouse, all of those different things makes a difference, not necessarily with them, but in you and how you show up in your marriage as it relates to intimacy and sex with your spouse. Give yourself grace. He knows that you had a baby or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or however many you've had. He was there, you know. Give yourself grace.
Yeah.
If you are just struggling in those areas, do what you need to do to make yourself feel better. You know, the way that you maybe dress, the way that you know, if you need to get your hair done, your nails done, whatever it is, you need to go and buy lingerie or whatever it is that you need to do to make yourself feel better. If you need your own special soap and nobody use my For Human soap, that's my new little soap I found at Target. I really like it. But that if you need whatever you need, get it and pamper yourself, treat yourself well, do your self-care so that you can feel better about you and present yourself to your husband. So give yourself grace in those areas. And I know that there are women who have, you know, sexual trauma history. You know, I want to just kind of address that just a little bit.
Can I go to
you want to interject first?
Yes,
okay, I'm
going to
come back
on.
to that. Yeah.
So, you know, I would say this, and I'm not a woman, but you are. So I think sometimes with those body image things, and I'm just speaking for us, you should do that, ladies. You should do that for you.
Absolutely.
You know, and I mean, you're doing it for your spouse, but number one, you do it for you. You know, and you want to make sure that you're okay with you. Sorry. Right. I did the same thing last week. It's okay. But and then the other thing I want to say is this. That's why I believe, you know, when we just read the Song of Solomon, and she referred to was it? I don't know if I gotta go back and read it, but she was referring to their love as wine. And I'm like, that's a great analogy, because as you know, wine gets better with time. And that's the same thing I have found with your sexual relationship, or your I'm gonna find another term for that. The sexual relationship, or anyway, in marriage, it gets better with time.
Sure.
And that's why, I believe, like, I know that we've changed. I mean, it's not just you. I know I've changed, since 2001. I know I've got parts and stuff where there was none. I'll just put it that way. But it's like, because in the beginning, it is a physical attraction, and if you don't admit that, then you just, there may be, a lot of people, especially, when it comes to, in churches, like, oh, she's so anointed, and man, look, she was fine. And when I saw her in the choir stand, mind you, I was like, okay.
Tell the truth, shame the devil.
But here's the deal. So a lot of the attraction in the beginning is physical.
Right.
But as we got to know each other, as we spent time with her, and now 20 years later, I'm still attracted to you physically. I'm not going to doubt that. But also, I am attracted to you for the person who you are. I'm attracted to you for all these different things that we've talked about on countless other podcasts,
Sure.
So it's like, and I'm saying that to say, and I don't want to come off as, I don't know, I got to just say it. The changes don't matter as much when I love you for who you are and not,
Yeah, that's good.
But you still find me, I tell you all the time,
you
do. But that doesn't, even if you're not a size, whatever, I don't know all that. Even if you're not that, I'm still attracted to you because the attraction is deeper than just the physical.
Yeah,
it's part of it now. I'm not gonna lie. Again, I'm not always spiritualizing it. It is part of it, but that's not the only thing.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that in.
That's good. That's very, very good. Yeah. And I agree, even from the woman's perspective. You've changed over the years. You don't have a head full of hair anymore,
Lord,
like you did on our wedding day. He was so proud his waves were
waves was popping, wasn't they?
Yeah, they were.
And you know what?
Good.
You know what? I'm not to brag on the waves, amen, praise God, not to brag on, but almost anytime somebody look at our wedding photos, they always say, man, them waves, boy. I what I'm saying? So,
but I like the bald head and I like the gray.
Thank you. I told her this morning I was gonna dye my beard black again.
If you feel the need to do that for yourself, you go ahead, but you don't need to do that for me. I like the salt and pepper.
Okay.
Yeah, and I like the bald head.
Okay.
So I like you just the way you are. I liked you then, and I like you now.
Okay.
So anyhow, that is kind of what we're going to be addressing throughout the month of May. We're going to go deeper, of course. This is kind of like the intro to the celebration of intimacy throughout the month of May. But we wanted to give you guys something today to think on, to think about, and to look forward to. So you had anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think it's going to be, I've been wanting to do this. We've been wanting to do this for a while.
Yeah. I had to get there. And that's another thing. I had to get there. You were like ready, like, let's go. And I'm like, yeah, I want to do it, but I'm ready.
And even part of that is, and so again, we still are evolving.
Yeah.
And even, us having this conversation on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live, without any pre-recorded,
right.
Whatever we say
edits, we just live.
Whatever we say is out there. It's it could be intimidating thing or whatever. But we always go back to this. We want your marriage to be the best that it can be.
On all levels.
On every level. And we gotta hold ourselves to this. We said we're gonna talk about everything, often.
Talk about everything.
Talk about everything often. Well, we just got our own little saying, but we talk about everything all the time. Nothing's off the table.
Exactly.
Well, we can't back down from
from addressing all areas that are important to marriage,
because this is a very important area. And like Tanya said earlier, we've talked to people, and this is one of those areas. It's like the silent.
It's like the white elephant in the corner of the room that nobody wants to address.
Suffering, and so many people are suffering in silence.
Yeah.
And they think that they can't say anything, or they think they can't do anything, or they go somewhere else to get that need met.
Right.
And so if we're going to be true to what we are doing on this podcast, we got to talk about sex and intimacy. So we want you guys to be a part of this. So by all means, please, if you have any questions or if there's anything specific that you guys want to talk about, you can inbox us. And you can even do it if you want to just do it personally to me or personally to Tanya. As always, your questions or comments, unless you're doing it live in the stream, will remain anonymous. If you want to email, you can email
us at marriagematterstous@gmail.com.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think we have a banner for that. But anyway, so marriagematterstous@gmail.com. Send your questions. And we'll and if we don't want to, or if we're not feel qualified to answer those, we know people who we can get the answer from and bring them on. And like Tanya said, we may have a couple of guests on this month just to talk about this, who are maybe even experts in this area. Yeah. So anyway, you got anything else?
No, actually, I'm going to save what I brought up earlier. I'm going to save that for...
My bad.
No. That's good, because that's kind of heavy to get into right now.
Okay.
But I'll save that for another show later on in the month. But we thank you guys for joining us today. We're going to meet you back here next week. So this is Tanya and
Glenn Coleman
reminding you that your marriage matters.
We'll see you next week.